Hello, Alex.
Hello, can you hear me? This is Alex.
Hello, Alex. We can hear you. We can't see you, but we can hear you.
You cannot see me, okay. Let's see, 1 second.
Okay.
Now?
Yes, totally.
Now? Okay, so I don't see, I see Adam, I see Małgosia, I don't see Irek.
I'm in.
You're in, but no video? Ah, you are, okay, very good. Okay, so first of all, thank you for coming to one more panel of experts, hotel panel of experts. We certainly had a few this year, unfortunately. I would have wished that the situation was a bit different and we could have been talking about great times as opposed to sad times. But Gaby, thank you for being with us. Adam as well, of course, Irek and Małgosia. Małgosia is replacing Georgi, who couldn't be with us today, but hopefully she'll help us with some of the questions that I will be formulating. Just a housekeeping note, please, when I ask the questions, try to limit them to 2 minutes, so be very short, very to the point, so we can cover all of the items I'd like to cover. And the time is 45 minutes for this session, so hopefully we can adhere to that. Okay, ready to start, I hope? Yes?
Yeah,
Sure. Is it normal that we don't see each other because I can see just myself, not all the other participants?
So.
Can you hear me? No?
I can hear
yes,
you.
I can.
And I can see you. Gaby.
So we can hear you and see you, Gaby.
Yep.
I mean,
Okay.
sorry. Okay, so let's start. And I'll address this to obviously the operators, meaning Adam, obviously, Irek representing Accor Orbis, and of course Małgosia. So due to the COVID-19, were you asked by any banks or any financial institutions or anyone in your corporate offices to actually revalue your existing hotel portfolio, Irek?
No, as you may know, we don't have bank financing, so we do not need necessarily to do it. However, it's in progress. Just one remark: I am not here to represent Orbis. I'm in supervisory board of Orbis, but I'm more speaking on behalf of the industry, sitting in as the chairman of the Polish Hotel Association. So let's get back to your question. Yes, I think that the hotels will be forced by the banks to revalue the portfolio or the assets. And as far as I know, there is a big discussion between the banks and the hotels because basically the hotels cannot finance today, cannot share financing to the banks. And there is a discussion between the European Union organization. These are authorities covering the bank sector. And the problem is the bank cannot allow the hotels based on today regulations postpone serving the debt because they have to have the permission from the European authorities. And this is now not in place. So EBA, which stands for European Banking Authority, they work today probably with the KNF, so Supervisory Financial Commission in Poland, to loosen the regulations so that to give the bank a chance to approve the motions coming, applications from hotels to postpone the debt financing.
Okay, Adam?
So yes, so we didn't revalue our hotels yet because we have also very limited financing on our own assets. But probably next year we will have to do it as we see that the business will not come back for sure in 2021. Maybe it will be better in 2022. And this, of course, all the projections we have for the coming years, this will reflect in a completely new valuation of the assets. Of course, it's a bit more challenging for the owners of hotels, which we just manage or franchise, because they are relatively new properties and they have a much more bank finance on the assets. But but our own assets were built like 15-20 years ago, so we are like quite okay with this.
Małgosia?
Yeah, as my previous colleagues mentioned, we as a Polish hotel holding, we are not financing. We are financing our investments so far with our own equity. So we have not had any direct talks with bank. Although for the new projects, we have talked with some banks, and we are aware that the bank financing is getting much harder, and banks are requiring much stronger collaterals, and of course the financing is much more expensive for the hotel industry. So we are very much aware about the situation, though I cannot share our own experiences, the PHH with bank financing. And to come back to your question directly, no, we haven't really evaluated the value of our assets so far.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to ask Gaby. By the way, I'm cheating a little bit because I met with Gaby yesterday in my office. But Gaby, you travel around Europe and you have clients around Europe. In general, what you see in the hotel market, what are they telling you?
There are two distinct trends. It's a little bit complex. It's three-dimensional. You have the hotel owners who have a financial situation that allows them to use this period of shutdown to renovate their hotels and reposition them. In particularly, reposition them. It isn't not all of them are in a situation where light renovation solve the problem and make them more competitive on the market again. So there is quite a bit of rethinking of the offer itself, the composites of the hotel element. Everybody is under pressure from the banks. That's a general statement. From the owner's side, there is a fear and a concern about, on the one hand, the pressure of the banks, and on the other hand, any aid they're receiving today, as Adam just said, that aid from government would stop before the pickup of the market again. So besides and in addition to a closure of a year, there is going to be this gap of fear where the markets is not going to pick up as one would hope, and at the same time, government aid is going to disappear. So everybody is preparing for worst case scenario, but yes, there is demand on devaluation, revaluation of assets, and a lot more attention now on the state of the asset itself. As we would expect, yes, the pressure is high.
So thank you for that. I wanted to perhaps ask, and I'll ask this directly to Irek, since he represents the hotels in general, and he's been dealing with and trying to support the industry vis-a-vis the government and all these programs that we've seen in place in trying to minimize the pains. Have you, when you talk to the, especially during the second lockdown, obviously we are in a lockdown in general, do you get any feel from the hotel owners how they're covering operational costs? Do they actually have to dip into their own pockets from they're operating from their cash reserves? How do you see that in general?
This complicated issue, and it varies from hotel to hotel or from group to group. There should be, what we found out based on our polls that we are doing every month is, for instance, in October, 43 hotels reported occupancy below 20%, and another 42% in a range of between 20 and 40% occupancy. Month to date in November is showing the 12% of average occupancy versus around 70% last year. So ADR also dropped significantly, like 30% or so. So there is also massive redundancies across the industry. And then we calculated a few days ago that it reached 38% of all workplaces in hospitality, which translates into potentially 70,000 people losing their jobs. So the situation is really very bad, and we are trying to discuss with the government some kind of effective help aid to the hotels, because otherwise, if they don't get it, they will go bankrupt one after another shortly. And as we add to that what I just said, that there is another measures taken by the government or will be introduced shortly as of 27th of November to practically close down the hotel, because the new measures limiting food and beverage operations just to deliver it to the rooms will also influence the traffic to the hotels. So all in all, we see that many hotels will suffer today, and they need urgent help. And we are in a discussion with the government. We have the panel discussion with them, with the Deputy Prime Minister, Mr. Gowin, which took place 2 days ago. However, it's not very easy to convince them that the hotels can operate easily, because the calculations and the specific expertise they have say that hotels, food and beverage operations, fitness and other related operations may transmit coronavirus largely, and they don't want to allow food and beverage to be released soon. So what I'm saying now is that we at the Hotel Chamber, we are pushing very hard, and we try to convince that the hotels need desperately help for their future operations. But all in all, it goes very slowly. Yesterday, we managed to convince in the Senate to make some amendments in the act that is now under discussion in the Senate and Sejm, and potentially it will be introduced. So some release as of ZUS and postojowe, which is the technical interruption of activity, will be paid to the hotel owners, and it will give some release. But that's very hard and not easy job.
So in my estimation, we have around 2,500 hotels in Poland. In the next 6 months, starting January 1st, we'll have at least 400 of them getting under administration, or at least trying to bankrupt. So this is a very serious problem. Obviously, and my opinion on this whole situation, I started talking about this in April, about the Eurobonds recovery efforts, and that can be done. It's been done before. It can be guaranteed by the National Bank and repaid by all of us, including population that can buy these bonds. But somehow nobody wants to talk about this. If we want to protect the industry and actually save it, we need about 1.2, 1.3 billion euros, and the distribution of that is based on EBITDA of 2019 per room, etc., etc. But I don't want to get into those details because it's a long conversation. I want to do find out what about Małgosia, for you. This is not a problem, right? Because you don't
Could
need
you
any money. Well,
well, you know, well, it's not that we don't need any money, because we are not working, we are not functioning out of the context, and we are also participating to the market. And you know, of course, we are in a totally different situation than an individual hotel where the equity is totally private, and we are aware of that. Also, we are aware of what is going on the market and how difficult the situation might be. Though I would say that our situation today, it's not only the heritage of us being a state-owned company, but also really long years of very hard work of the whole team, both in the hotels and within the central of the company. We've had a really long track record of really very good business results with high EBITDAs, and this is why we are here today where we are, actually. And you know, I know that we cannot compare to the situation of small businesses, because we are a very big company, one of the biggest currently on the market, and we also need money, as everybody. But also we've been in a very good shape, financial shape, just before COVID struck.
rooms do you have in your portfolio?
How many what?
Rooms do you have in your portfolio? How many rooms? Hotel rooms?
We have 2,700 rooms, divided in 28 hotels right now. And it's also a very nice business portfolio, because business mix, because we have now not only airport hotels, which we have started with, but also city hotels and some leisure hotels. And this mix gives us also the opportunity to, like, of course, we feel very, very strongly the impact of COVID, but we can, our airport hotels feel it much more, for sure, than our leisure hotels, as you may suspect.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Question for Adam. Are leases dead?
It's a very interesting question. I think maybe not that, but we will not see leases as they were before, in my opinion, because it's very difficult to find a company which is able to sign a fixed lease. Of course, for a long time, a lot of hotel groups were using like a third-party operator to sign a lease in the sandwich model. But also another issue is that the financial condition of these third-party operators now is very challenging. And what I saw during the last months is that more investors are open to discussion about the direct management, maybe from the big stable hotel group, with maybe some sort of a guarantees, or I don't know, cure mechanism or something like that, instead of having a lease. Because we observed in some markets which were very much lease dominated, like in Germany, that a lot of operators who had signed lease just left the property, just left the asset, and there is nothing happening. And a management contract gives this opportunity of having a dialogue between the owner and the operator. So I think that in the future we will have more management contracts. Of course, these management contracts will be also different than they were before, because of the investors, because of the banks. There will be a certain level of commitment needed from a hotel operator. But I think this is the model which will develop.
Adam, when you say that on a management contract, more inclusive on behalf of the operator, you mean GOP guarantees or thresholds, or?
I think threshold for the owner priority return, I think this is the minimum now. I think maybe GOP guarantees or key money, yeah, things like that.
All right. So I'll go for a second to Gaby. Gaby, because of the obvious slowdown, and not only I'm counting 2020 as a done deal and 2021 as a half done deal. Do you think the construction costs, development costs, will go down because of this in the next 2-3 years? Is it going to be favorable then for new projects, new investors to at least get that break?
We have a number of hotel projects at the moment under construction. And what we're witnessing now is that the cost of materials is indeed becoming more competitive. So the supply cost is reducing. Nothing dramatic at the moment, but I think with time, it will take a certain magnitude, in particular when we get to the high luxury end finishings, appliances, fixtures, OS&E products, FF&E products. However, the cost of labor is increasing, and this is a direct impact of the restrictions on the number of people on site, restrictions on hours of delivery for transport, restrictions on security, added measures of security, cost of added security, instruments, accessories. These, we shouldn't underestimate them because they run up very quickly, a very high budget over a 2 years, 2.5 years lifetime of a project. So I think overall at this stage, we are balancing each other a little bit. The construction period is stretching, so preliminaries are higher, site installation costs are higher. After the lockdown, let's say 2021, as you said, is a done deal, but hopefully in the summer with vaccines as we're being promised, I think there will be a first stage pickup where it's going to be a good time to award contracts before the rush. But then when the rush arrives in 2022, we will find ourselves back to a stable curve pickup on the overall cost of construction.
Okay. Adam, do you have, how is your pipeline for the next 3 years in Poland?
I mean, the pipeline is still not bad because all the projects that we signed before coronavirus pandemic, they are moving and they have only like a very little delay. Of course, this year we signed less new contracts than we predicted. But we signed some contracts, and even today we announced one of our new signings in Kraków. And the other projects, I mean, the majority of other projects which we were supposed to sign this year, were rather put on hold than eliminated. So we from maybe spring next year, some of the projects will come back. So I think in the longer perspective, like starting from 2002, I see quite a positive in the market.
Okay, maybe Małgosia, how is your pipeline the next 3 years?
How is what in 3 years?
Could you next repeat? 3 years, your pipeline.
Okay, so for us, I would like to relate to the question also about the costs, the investment costs, because we are also observing very much the market. And what we observe is that the costs of actually materials and general construction costs, they are still more or less on the levels from 2019. But we think that it will go more or less like the investment process. Like first you choose the architect, and then the investor, acting investor, and then the general construction company. And what we see is a slight moves in the prices of the architects, and slight moves, much more pressure, a little bit more pressure on the investor, acting investor side. Not yet on the general constructor, but we are expecting that probably the general construction costs and the fittings costs, they might be slightly falling, but we are not really expecting really big correction. But if they fall, then it will be probably something like mid next year, around the second quarter next year, as the construction, the investment process goes. In terms of our pipeline, for the time being, we are doing quite well. Probably you have noticed also that we've signed yesterday. Yesterday we have announced the signing of another 3 contracts with Best Western International for 3 properties. That is for Olsztyn, Rzeszów, and Łódź. 2 of them, these are the Best Western Plus hotels, and in which there will be the new brand Aiden. We will be introducing another new brand to the Polish market, so we are really excited about that. Otherwise, the business plan that we have, which covers 9 properties, the renovation of 9 properties with a perspective of 1.5 years, it's going according to the plan. We think that it's really good time for investment because, of course, operationally we are having, unfortunately, a little bit more time and more space to think about the investments. And also investments, when we are doing investments, we are not looking at the perspective of 1 year or 2 years, but as we sign the contracts, the franchise contracts, for example, for 10 years or 20 years, we are doing the investments also with this kind of perspective. And therefore, our pipeline didn't really change too much. We are going according to the plan, and hopefully we'll have nice new properties when the market picks up again in 2 years.
Right. So if you have 2,700 rooms today and you take the next 3 years, then I guess you can grow, in your situation, you can grow your portfolio to at least 1,500 new rooms.
We are not really constructing, we are just renovating for the time being. We are looking at the other acquisitions, as you also know for sure, because market is talking about it. But we have some plans to grow further. For the time being, I've lost the 10. We have actually 28,000 rooms. So, yeah.
Okay, so Akor obviously will be worried about that. That's a lot of rooms. No, when I said pipeline, I mean obviously existing hotels that you will acquire, and whatever new ones you'll come up with, greenfields, or even existing buildings that you convert to hotels. Anyway, okay, but that's a huge amount of rooms that you're planning to do. So I guess the question now, because you are a buyer, would you buy a city center hotel in Warsaw, Wrocław, Kraków, Gdańsk, based on a 10% cap of the 2019 results?
Okay, that's really, I think we have a strategy that we are going with. There's really a lot of hotel owners that are coming to us with a request to be taken over or to take their properties in management. And of course, we answer to each of the requests, but we go with our strategy. And as you know, of course, the return on investment is not the only factor that we are taking into account, taking a decision whether we go into an investment or not. And for the time strategy is set, and we also need to be cautious with our spending and where our money goes. For the time being, we are really abiding to the strategy that we've agreed to, and we are not looking into other properties, however attractive they might be.
Okay. I won't ask that to Irek because he cannot answer on that, or can you?
I can. Just in my general opinion, I would expect like 25-30% discounts to real estate prices seen in 2019. But obviously, each individual project needs calculations and analysis. So prior to making them, it's impossible to answer would I get into or not into the deal, just on the basic assumptions.
So just to give you a scenario, Germany, the closest trading partner to us, they did a study just a month ago to the owners' funds, mostly 90% of the new hotels, branded hotels done in the last 5 years are actually leases, as you know, so they're owned by funds. The value of those portfolio versus 2019, 2018 are between 25 and 30% off. So the number you give us,
it is. You can expand that formula, Alex, really across to Italy, Rome market in particular, Milano as well, to Spain. We're seeing that trend 20 to 30. Paris, the big hotels are still closed, so it's anybody's guess really what happens to the market there. So yeah, I think you can consider mainland Europe to be going towards that same trend at the moment.
I really don't see that improving, quite frankly. I'll say a few words at the end of the session, but yeah, it's going to be painful now for those companies that have cash funds. As we spoke yesterday, Gaby, we have funds that are interested in buying at a 25-30% discount. So that I think is going to be the next 6-8 months is going to be an opportunity for those kind of buyers. My sentiments obviously go to individual investors in Poland and operators that are having all these cash flow issues. But this is a cycle, and it's a life that some of these things, some of these hotels are going to be unfortunately not being able to save themselves. I have and this will be for Adam, I guess, and I don't know if Ida can answer Małgosia. Are you in the new management contracts, franchise agreements, loans that you're trying to acquire now? Are you putting now a clause on the force majeure / pandemic issues?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
I mean, we had it before, but the one we had before was mostly related to the air traffic in the nearest airport, which actually worked as well this year because we saw that almost lost the passengers. So we had a force majeure, but of course we will be more specified now on this, and especially if there is any like financial commitment from our side. So this is a big change, of course, in the management contract.
And I guess Louvre is doing this worldwide, I would imagine, no?
Yes, especially.
Okay.
It's very crucial, especially in the countries when we have leases. So like in Germany, like in Austria, in France.
And Irek, you guys are doing the same thing now, I would believe.
Yeah, we do have the clauses in the existing lease contracts. In some of them, not all of them, but some of them, they exist. In the management and franchise agreements, fees depend on revenue. So there is another issue, and I don't think it's very, very much requested by the owners.
Right, but I think, I see. So, well, that's interesting. So if I want to get a franchise from you, right?
Sorry, Alex, can't hear you.
Okay, so let me see if I understand it correctly. If I am an investor, an operator, and I want to frame you, in the franchise agreement, could I include the force majeure / pandemic issues? Can you hear me?
I couldn't hear you before. So if the question is to me, please repeat it.
Yeah, well, to you is like this. If I want to get a franchise from Accor, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. And I get a franchise from you as an investor, maybe operator as well. Can I ask you to include the force majeure / pandemic so I can be relieved of fees and everything else during the interruption?
And you want me to get into shoes of Accor, which I am not in?
Well, no, but I mean, okay. So I'm asking you, do you think Accor would do it? How is that?
I don't think it is necessary, because if the revenue is hit by the crisis, the force majeure, so then the revenues will translate into your fees, and the fees will be naturally lower. So there is the kind of collateral, and you don't have to put the clause into the agreement.
Right, but there's still platforms that charge you no matter what, no matter whether you close or not. Okay, no problem. Don't worry.
I might have something to say maybe about it, because I'm on the other side, and we are working with several franchise companies, and a part of the contracts that we are signing right now, we are having already many contracts with Marriott, with Best Western, and now with Hilton. And all of the existing contracts, of course, they are older. They date from 10 years ago or 5 years ago, or this kind of time. And we must say that all of the franchise companies that we've been working with, they really acted very fair during the first wave of pandemic. And you're right that not all the franchise costs are based on the revenue. There are some fixed costs, of course, but we feel that we really have partners on the other side. I would say that about Marriott and Hilton and Best Western, all of the franchise companies that we've been working with. In terms of the new contracts that are signing, we try to be really very cautious in terms of the start of the operations, because we know that, of course, we might be planning constructions and renovations, but in each renovation, each construction, there might be delays. But now we are in a really special time. And in this special time, we might have special conditions, and we might have more delays. So we are trying to sign the contracts in the way that gives us some comfort, that we are not really very much strict about the date of the opening.
Right. So you try to avoid penalties due to late openings. Okay, and that makes sense. I mean, now it's the time to get, to me at least, now it's the time to make sure you include in all of these on whatever side you are, leases, management contracts, and franchises. So both sides, it's not a win-win situation, but both sides are protected. You really don't want somebody go bankrupt because they're going to be delayed 1.5 years due to a pandemic. Anyways, having said that, I want to see if I can get Irek's opinion on this. So personally, I don't think the government is doing as much as they should be doing. So you know that. I'm sure you agree with me as well. How do we come out of this? I mean, how do we, for instance, who's going to spend the money to advertise and promote Poland as the first country in Europe to do your MICE event? How do we do a recuperation recovery campaign? How do we, as an industry, make sure that the government starts thinking about this? I mean, third quarter of next year, and I'll give you an opinion here in a second, we're going to be coming out of this slowly, but we're going to need to spend money for our public relation, obviously, social networks.
It's a very important question, Alex, and thank you for touching this issue. I think that my segment is crucial for hotel market recovery, no doubt about it. Not only in Poland, but also elsewhere. And I think that not only Poland will make the efforts to capture MICE customers from all around the world, specifically in Europe in the first stage, from Europe to come to Poland. Now, the question is, who is going to finance all these promotional activities? Because since many hotels and hotel groups will suffer after the pandemic, so I would not expect they will be keen to put their money in to finance major large-scale actions on the European level. I think, however, that the local well-designed activities, reasonable cost campaigns should be acceptable. So I mean, all the stakeholders that are interested in pushing up the activity of MICE in Poland should be interested and should contribute to these funds. Probably behind your questions, there is also a question regarding the bed tax or the city tax. I'm not touching it. It was interrupted at some stage, and we have probably will have to also come to this discussion later. But I think that yeah, between the stakeholders, it should be the discussion how to attract Poland as the destination for MICE segment.
Right. So understanding that, obviously, it's also something that has to be brought up as you have your discussions regarding the government's contribution to the pains that the industry have, but also start talking about the eventuality that we need to put money for their recovery. If everybody else was going to do it in Europe for sure. Germany, Spain will be the first ones, Italy, Greece, etc., and we'll be the last ones. Typically, this is how it happens, as you know. I know that whole story. So it's time now for them to start looking for ways of financing this. I mean, we're talking about a campaign that might cost yearly 1.5 to 2 million euros if it's done correctly, but they need to start thinking about it. Okay. I wanted to go back for a second to Gaby. Why did you come to Poland the last 2-3 days? What are you trying to do in Poland?
Interesting. In fact, I have used the opportunity before when the travel allowed it to be here. Our business here is it's a regional hub office for us. It's quite critical. And we do have a number of projects that are on site and proceeding. And at the same time, we're seeing the worrying signs that every business is seeing today of less and less requests for quotations, and the pipeline is becoming drier for post-21. Luckily, construction projects always have been challenging because of and the real estate developments always had time factor against it. This time, at least we have some ongoing work in the next year. And I came because the travel industry, I found, has mastered the protection against the pandemic. In fact, you feel very, very safe traveling from airport door to airport door. You feel a higher risk being in cities. The hotel I'm staying in is totally compliant. The restaurant is serving food. So the new measure that Ira just spoke about starting 27th would definitely stop me from coming.
Okay. Now, so thank you. I wanted to give you a little bit of time for market yourself, so you got that opportunity. I think we have like 7 minutes left. We're done. Okay, so I'll just say, because we're done, I'm going to steal a couple of minutes. Just to give you an example, some of the numbers. So 2021 will finish at 36% occupancy versus 71%. 2019, the average EBITDA loss per room, we have 150,000 rooms, was 4,500 euros per room, or approximately for a hotel of 100 rooms. It was approximately, let's say, €500,000 that they lost this year. My forecast for 2021 is total Poland, of course, circa is 43%, Warsaw 44% of domestic view. The RevPAR will be down 35 to 40% to 2019. By the way, the third quarter, all big chains, the RevPAR actually improved from a 72% down to 2019 to around 51, 52%. So some of these countries are coming back. My take on what's going to happen is we're going to have 6 months, starting January, first 6 months of something that I'm calling reset, then 6 months rebuild, 6 months of rebound, for a total of 18 months, and then we'll start seeing recovery. Last question I have for everybody: who is going to get vaccinated out of all of you? Małgosia, are you going to take a vaccine? Okay.
Of course, I'm
excuse me, Alex. Can you repeat?
Myself, who is going to be vaccinated? The question is, who is going to be vaccinated?
Hold on. So, will you take a vaccine when it's available, Małgosia?
Of course, I'm getting vaccinated with the flu for several years now. My whole family gets vaccinated, so as soon as the vaccine appears, I will get vaccinated for sure.
Okay, so that's good. What about you, Irek?
I will.
Okay. Adam?
Yes, I think it will be necessary to travel and to fly. So yes.
Okay. And then Gaby already answered. Don't ask me, please. Okay.
Alex?
We were going to.
No, I'm still trying to figure out what to do. So, but I'll let you know this time next year.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. Obviously,
we hope you would have vaccinated by then.
No, we will get vaccinated, and I think in our enterprise we're going to ask everybody that works for us to get vaccinated as well. But that's a major issue. All right. Is there any questions? Wait, let me see. Okay. So we're going to have to say goodbye. Hopefully you'll have a very safe and healthy, whatever holidays we want to call them, because they're going to be completely different. Thank you for being with us, and I hope you enjoyed the panels.
Thank you, Alex. Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Pleasure meeting all of you.